Our waking lives are dictated by invisible, reactive hierarchies. In these systems, timidity serves as a silent agreement, a signal that you accept your position at the bottom of the stack, leaving those paralyzed by fear locked in place while the rest of the world moves past them. Observe the nonverbal cues in any high-stakes room: the averted gaze, the nervous fidgeting, the constant touching of the face. These are biological broadcasts of submission. They invite domination by signaling to the group that you are waiting for permission to exist. This dynamic is more than a social habit. It is a structural mechanism mirrored in the deepest layers of the subconscious. Consider sleep paralysis, a state where the brainstem inhibits motor neurons to keep the body still during REM sleep. If you wake up in this state, your amygdala, detecting the physical lockdown, projects a terrifying shadow entity to explain the lack of movement. This represents a total system failure. Whether you're in a boardroom or a bedroom, reacting with panic validates the illusion. By treating the threat as real, you supply the projection with the exact energy it needs to keep you trapped. This papyrus depicts the Duat, the Egyptian afterlife. Ancient scrolls describe this realm as a cold, administrative labyrinth where survival depended on memorizing the layout and the names of the entities guarding every door. Instead of physical combat, the deceased used verbal formulas to pass through. You had to speak the specific secret names of the lintels, the doorposts, and the demons themselves. Identifying the guardian by its true name stripped it of its authority, forcing the gates to move of their own accord. Gnostic texts map out a similar gauntlet. They describe 7 planetary spheres ruled by archons, tyrannical governors who utilize the gravity of human fear and ignorance to keep souls bound to a simulated material matrix. The zoomorphic demon demanding a verbal key at the cosmic gate and the shadow figure hovering over your bed are the same thing. They are both externalizations of an intense, localized survival panic. Whether framed as an ancient governor or a modern neurological glitch, the gatekeeper possesses zero objective mass. Its entire existence relies on your inherited belief that it has power over you. To bypass these systems, practitioners engineered specialized protocols. The codices of the Nag Hammadi library and the texts of Tibetan dream yoga are technical manuals for wake-initiated lucid dreaming, maintaining an unbroken thread of consciousness as the body drops into sleep. This threshold requires a state called movement and repose. To cross the gate, the physical body must be treated as completely inert, while the mind remains consciously active, refusing to identify with the heavy, sinking sensations of the physical frame. Instead of running from a nightmare entity, the dreamer turns and vocalizes a specific declaration of their origin. I know you, and I know where I come from. You are nothing but my own reflection. This breaks the neuro-linguistic loop. Because the entity is constructed from the dreamer's fear, objective recognition cuts off its energy supply. The illusion collapses into light, and the dreamer reclaims that trapped fragment of their own mind. You cannot fight an illusion with force. A system built on fear is only dismantled through absolute physical stillness and the linguistic assertion of identity. Social hierarchies and dream monsters share a structural dependency. They both collapse when the observer refuses to validate the projection. In both realms, the appearance of power is the power. If you treat a social gatekeeper's authority as absolute, it becomes absolute. Psychologist William James formalized the waking equivalent of this in his as-if protocol. James observed that physical action creates psychological reality. By acting as if you already possess confidence and authority, your brain begins to generate the internal state to match your outward performance. Christopher Columbus used this to hack the Spanish royalty. As a merchant's son with no royal lineage, he simply projected the posture of nobility so convincingly that the institutional gatekeepers accepted his identity and funded his voyage. Thomas Edison applied a similar strategy when he announced to the press that he had perfected the incandescent bulb. At the time, the technology didn't actually work, but the sheer boldness of the claim created the pressure needed to attract the funding that eventually made the invention possible. Projecting radical boldness works because human groups are highly responsive to confidence. When you present an identity as a finished fact, the people around you usually shift their expectations to accommodate that new data. A timid mind is constantly reacting, adjusting its posture to appease the room. A sovereign mind carries a steady internal gravity that forces the room to adjust to it. By withholding your emotional validation, by refusing to supply the panic or anxiety the environment expects, you starve the chaotic forces around you of their influence. When you refuse to break eye contact, when you hold your physical repose under pressure, and when you assert your position without apology, you reconfigure the power dynamics of your immediate environment. Eventually, you will face a final gauntlet, whether it is a cosmic gatekeeper or an impossible worldly ambition. Armed with the habit of self-recognition, you won't panic in the dark. You will simply speak your piece, watch the doors open, and walk right through.